Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice, Simple Steps for Showing Up. My name is Brad Draper, and I am your host. I am so grateful to be here, and I'm so fired up. Oh man, I had the coolest experience the other day that I want to share with you. That is the premise of this entire podcast. But before we get to it, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you do on the daily. What is your routine? Do you get up? Do you drink some water? Do you take a shower? Do you get your fitness in? Do you eat the same thing? What do you do? And do you even have a routine? For instance, my routine, I wake up, I study, I exercise. I actually wake up, drink my water, then study, then exercise, then cold plunge, cold shower, get ready, breakfast, and it's the same breakfast every day, pretty much. I have 2 different breakfasts that I alternate, but I eat the same breakfast for like 6 months at a time because it makes my life easy. It makes my life simple. We only have so much capacity in our minds for decision-making skills. Why waste a decision on something stupid like what am I eating for breakfast? I have the same set of shirts. I don't think about what I put on. I do not put energy to that capacity. I do not put energy to my hair. For those that have ever seen me, shameless plug, go subscribe to my YouTube. I don't have hair. I shaved it off. It's by choice. I did this in 2016, 7 years ago. I shaved my head and never looked back. I've got a short beard. I trim my beard once a week. I do the same thing. And the purpose of doing the same thing is simplicity. It is to minimize the amount of energy on decisions each day so I can maximize energy on big decisions. How much energy do you put on stupid little things like what you're going to have for breakfast, what kind of food you're going to eat, what kind of drink you're going to get at Starbucks, something stupid. Place your energy where it's most efficient. Now, on to what I want to talk about. Last episode, I talked about my mom because my mom is a baller. I bet your mom is a baller too. My wife is a baller mom. I was out on my bike ride. And while I was on my bike ride, we do this loop. By the way, we do the same loop. And my son, before we got going, said, "Hey, Dad, I would like to do the long route." I was like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" We do the same route every time. It's the same 13.5-mile loop. We go the same direction, doing the same thing. He goes, "No, the other day we did a short route. I want to do the long route." I had realized the previous bike ride we did as a family and we ran out of time. And so we had to cut the route in half and we shot home. Why? He wanted to go through the tunnels. There's 2 tunnels to which we go under a highway. And I'm a car fanatic. And it's just like a moral imperative, if you have a really good sounding car, to rev your engine under a highway, under an overpass. It's just required. It's a thing. Some people I know find it annoying. But if you have a really good sounding car, you just kind of got to blip the exhaust a little bit because it's fun. And while we roll through these tunnels, I tell my sons it's a moral imperative to scream. And so we scream at the top of our lungs as we go through these tunnels. They're not very long tunnels. They're just going under an overpass. And he loves it. He thinks it's a blast. And in fact, sometimes I forget and he starts to scream before we even go underneath the tunnel. And then I scream with him and we all laugh after and it's a great time. The other day, we got about 40 feet from the tunnel and I hear like the highest pitch screech I think I've ever heard in my life. And I'm sitting there going like, is that my 4-year-old? And then all of a sudden I hear my 4-year-old scream. I realized it was my 20-month-old. He had never screamed before going into the tunnels. He's just observed and paid attention and realized when we get to this spot on the bike ride, we scream and then we laugh about it and have a really great time. So my 20-month-old, my 4-year-old, and me all screamed as we're going through the tunnel. I had previously thought about the fact that I am installing a core memory for my sons. I want you to think about that right now. How are you installing core memories for your kids? I feel it to be so, and I've decided that it is so. I've made the decision. Go back to my episode on the power of decisions and making a choice. I made a decision that my sons, when they're adults, they will look back and remember screaming through tunnels with their dad on bike rides. It's something they look forward to every time. How do I know this? Because my son asked me if we're going on the long route because he wanted to scream under the tunnels. It's installing memories to which they can look back fondly on. Core memories. Happy, resourceful, excited, ecstatic core memories. While on my bike ride, I had a realization. While riding my bike, I was thinking about these core memories and how they will look back on them when they were kids, as adults. And when they talk to their kids, say, when I was a little kid, when I was your age, I used to ride with my dad and we would scream through the tunnels. And I loved it. That statement, they can know with a surety, beyond shadow of doubt, that their dad was fit when they were little. I was riding a bike when they were little kids, pulling them along, showing them what hard work looked like. And I can promise you, I will be fit and I will be doing something, whether it be riding a bike, hiking, weightlifting, whatever I'm doing when they're adults and my grandkids are rolling around. They can say with a surety, I have been fit their whole life. I have given this example of fitness their whole life. My son used to work out with me during COVID. I originally thought it sucked so bad when the gyms closed down during COVID. I thought, come on, the alcohol store is open. Come on, cigarette shops are open. Come on, all these other things that don't need to be open are open, but the gyms are closed. But then I found a silver lining. I worked out in my garage every day, 7 days a week. Who else was there? At the time, he was 6 months old, my now 4-year-old. And he was out there doing air squats with me, doing push-ups, by the way, from his toes at 6, 12, 18 months. All the whole time while the gyms were closed, I was out every day doing a workout in the garage. And I came to learn to love doing workouts with my son. Even at that young of an age, he'd look up to me and start working out. And even today, if I start working out today in the garage, he will run out, he will grab his dumbbells, which are 5-pound dumbbells, and start shoulder pressing them. And he will start doing push-ups and jumping jacks and burpees. He'll want to use the pulley machine that we have attached on the wall. He wants to do these things. He can look back and know, from as long as he can remember, his dad has been an example of working hard, of being physically fit. He has seen me read his whole life. We have photos of him when he's 2, 3, 4 months old, of me reading my book and him reading his. The other day he asked me, Dad, are you going to read your book right now because I want to read with you? I said, no, son, I read this morning. You read with me this morning. The reading's done for the day. We'll do it tomorrow. He looks forward to laying on the couch with me in the morning. In fact, he wakes up early sometimes. Kind of a pain sometimes. But is it really a pain? Being that example, he will know that his dad worked on his mind and his body his whole life. What kind of example are you setting? How are you showing up for your kids, for the next generation, those that take what we have and move it forward? How are you showing up? Do they remember Dad on the couch watching a movie, eating potato chips? Do they ever remember dad sitting there playing video games? Do they remember dad being lazy, eating donuts? Fun fact, I quit eating donuts last November. Haven't had one. I had one to support a friend, so I should take that back. I had one to support a friend, and I was physically ill from it. I removed it from my identity. I don't eat donuts. My mindset coach asked me, what do you want to let go that you love and know you need to let go? For me, it was donuts. I could smash a box of donuts. You bring a box of donuts and I will demolish it. I said, I love donuts and I should probably not love them as much as I do. I'm ready to let it go. It took 6 weeks to come up with that answer, that I'm ready. I made a decision to let them go. My son watches me eat carrots. He watches me eat the vegetables, the fruit, the meat, all these things. He doesn't really see me munch on stuff because I'm setting an example to him and myself. This is the standard. You hit the standard. The end. I said I was thinking about my mom when I first started talking about this. I have a very clear image when I was about 2 to 3 years old, based off where we lived. I can see the neighborhood. I can see the houses. I can see the house we left. And I've seen that house in images later. So I know where we lived. So I know I was about 2 or 3 years old. And I have a very distinct image of sitting in a bike trailer with my sister with books on our lap and looking up and seeing my mom ride her bike. I know as an adult with kids that my mom has been fit my whole life. She has ridden pedal bikes for distances since before I was born. And to this day, in her mid-60s, she still does. She still has to get her bike ride in. These days, it's on Zwift. It's not out on the roads because it's safer on Zwift. And she's got friends from all around the world. They all ride at the same time of day for them. So they're on the server at the same time. I've seen her point out her friends from France, point out her friends from other countries, and how cool that is. That she sees on the bike routes in this game where she's working her guts out and sweating her brains out. But looking back, I have a core memory of sitting in that bike trailer being pulled by my mom. And all growing up, I never was into cycling. In fact, I didn't start cycling until I did an Ironman distance triathlon a couple of years ago. And I learned to ride for the first time on a road bike for endurance. I had to go buy a bike and learn how to ride a road bike for endurance. I had to learn how to use clips. And yes, I fell down several times. In fact, every once in a while when I'm not paying attention, I still fall down while using clips. But that doesn't stop me. It's instilling this memory. It's being an example with your actions, not your words. And in landing this plane, what actions are you setting? What are you telling your kids by what you do, not what you say? Because we learn from things that are caught, not taught, as one of my mentors tells me. How do you show up with your actions? Because action precedes action, and where you focus, you find. I thank you for being here with me today, for having this conversation, for letting me open up a little bit. This is one that I've been excited to share about ever since I had this epiphany while pulling my boys and screaming through the tunnels, physically, audibly screaming through the tunnels with my 2 sons. I will never forget that. When they're adults, I will look back on the fond memories of pulling my sons on our bike ride and screaming through the tunnels. It's not just a memory for them, but it's a memory for me too. I need you to show up today. They need you to show up today. Have this conversation with your friends and your family. Leave me a review on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, wherever you listen to this thing. Share it with your friends and your family. That's the only way it grows. Like it, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, I love you guys. Bye.